Well, it is week 18. We're here to preview the games. Not many of them are very good, and we'll be sure, Bloom, before we jump into the actual contest,
Yeah.
we won't lecture you too much if you're playing fantasy football in week
Right.
18.
Right.
We've been here a million times. Now in our 20th season, now that the calendar has turned over. Hope you had a happy new year, but okay, it's week 18. Let's deal with it, Bloom.
Yeah, we'll deal with it. And look, it's still in essence a game of predicting the future, but week 18 is like predicting the future blindfolded, or at least you get to lift up the blindfold for a few teams and then you're blindfolded for the rest of the teams. And that's okay. So we're here, and mainly, I want to say, if you're hearing the sound of our voices right now, thank you. Thank you. You're obviously the people that truly power the show and have kept us going now into calendar year number 20, soon season number 20 when we get to the draft. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. Cleveland, Baltimore, though.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much of a beautiful thing. So here we go. Both teams at once,
Yeah,
Bloom. Let's
sure.
talk about your thoughts.
Yeah, and with Cleveland, time is a flat circle. We didn't have a lot of hope for this franchise. We still don't have a lot of hope for this franchise in its current incarnation. As far as the Cleveland side of the ball, Jerry Jeudy, isn't it funny, Cease, after you covered Jerry Jeudy for so long, that this is the kind of situation where he would flourish? This is the kind of situation where he would put up a career year when everything else is crumbling around him. Congratulations, Jerry Jeudy. Maybe he should be in lineups, two quarterbacks playing. They're the number 3 pick, maybe even get higher. We'll see. Baltimore can clinch the division, number 3 seed with a win here. So Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, they're all safe plays. Zay Flowers, uh, Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman had chances to get touchdowns. And again, Baltimore, here we go again on the AFC side. Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, maybe Cincinnati. We'll get to that in the next game.
Yeah, and the very next game coming up is Bengals and Steelers. Now, two Saturday games, because of course the NFL can't leave you alone. But Bengals, if they win, the Broncos and Dolphins lose, they are in. The Steelers, I don't think much anything can change other than that 7 seed, right, Bloom? So see what the Steelers can do.
Yeah, handling both of these teams together. On the Cincinnati side, and Cease, when you remember some of the excruciating ways the Bengals have lost this year, it's it's sad that they may miss the playoffs just because Joe Burrow gives them that puncher's chance in any game. In any game. Going back to that game they lost against Kansas City, which seemed like a travesty in week 2. The first game we're like, really? Kansas City's going to somehow win this game? Really? Or we be talking about Joe Burrow in the tournament. There's still a chance for Joe Burrow and the Bengals to get into the tournament. That's with the win here, with Miami losing and with Denver losing. So it's still a long shot, but they're going to play before they know the outcome of those games, or they can't even track the outcome of those games. So expect Joe Burrow, who really has taken his place on the mantle of truly great with a capital G quarterbacks this year. He's not going to win the MVP, but he probably is the MVP. I mean, he probably is the player who's truly the most valuable to his team because this team would be maybe picking first overall without him. Jamar Chase taking his mantle as the number 1 receiver in the league, may win the Triple Crown, probably will win the Triple Crown here. Pay T. Higgins. And by the way, isn't it great that Joe Burrow came out and said, yeah, if you sign guys before the end of their contracts, you can actually get, make Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be a quarterback GM. Joe Burrow should be a quarterback GM. Is Chase Brown going to play? I don't think so. He should be in lineups if he does. If not, Khalil Herbert should be in lineups. Khalil Herbert looked
Sure.
good. Steelers can still be the number 6 seed if they the number 5 seed if they win this game. So there's a lot because playing Houston and playing Baltimore, big difference.
Yeah.
Pretty big difference. But the Steelers are fading. Now, this is still a team that has a lot to play for. And so Russell Wilson maybe is in the lineup. George Pickens obviously in the lineup. Maybe even Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth. This team did put up 44 points against Cincinnati and won the first time around. Even Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, they're high ceiling what the heck flexes, running backs. There's some more teams resting running backs this week. So we'll see. It's an AFC North Saturday in the NFL.
Yeah. Now on to Sunday. Panthers Falcons has some intrigue because, with the Panthers, we've been on to next year for a while now, but we've seen some flashes of next year for a while now. It
Yeah,
looks like Miles Sanders should be back.
right.
It's great because Mike Boone, Raheem Blackshear didn't do anything. And then, of course, on the flip side, well, just continue to watch Michael Penix, see what you
Right.
can do there.
Right. And if the Saints can somehow upset the Bucks, then the Falcons still have a chance to get in. With Carolina, like you said, we're watching the Bryce Young comeback story. Play spoiler one more time. They ended Seattle season. Adam Thielen at age 34. Let's take a moment out to appreciate that. As an undrafted player, not just an undrafted player who was on the radar because of the local tryout rule. Someone, again, needs to put together the all-time team of players who made it because of the local tryout rule. That is that you get an unlimited number of visits, tryouts for players within a certain geographical radius of the franchise. What was he, Minnesota, Mankato, or something like that?
Yeah, and that's
Anyway,
George Payton. A lot of people say Rick Spielman, which obviously Rick was involved as well, but that was George Payton finding him.
beautiful stuff. And it's great that he has taken Jalen Coker, one of the next great undrafted free agent wide receivers, under his wing. We're going to watch him. Dynasty watch. Snorkel Scuba Submarine coming in later on in January, one of everyone's favorite shows. I check out Buy Low Sell High weeks 14 to 17. By the way, I go position by position for your offseason stashes. Jalen Coker was stashed a long time ago. Xavier Leggett's going to need surgery on his wrist, I guess, a little banged up. Those are two of the pieces. This team's going to pick somewhere between 6 and 10, and they're fine with that because, like you said, Cease, there's hope for the future. On the Atlanta side, notice nobody's questioning the pick of Michael Penix anymore.
Ha!
Nobody. Quite awful quiet out there. Didn't even take till the end of the season, Cease. Didn't even take till the end of the season. So keep that in mind as we're just 4 months away from this year's draft. So when there's hot takes, yeah, shut them up pretty quickly. It's a Bijan Robinson offense, though.
Yeah.
Texas won a thriller. Isn't it great? Matthew McConaughey's in there taking credit for everything that the Texas. Matthew McConaughey is going to somehow take credit for Bijan Robinson being a good pro running back. Drake London over Darnell Mooney, although Darnell Mooney is a high ceiling play. Kyle Pitts a flicker of hope. Michael Penix is that strong. He can bring back the candle of Kyle Pitts' fantasy value has popped back to life. It's still just a little candle. Maybe it can get stronger, as Michael Penix is going to be really fun to watch in his NFL career.
Yeah, that is fan flipping tastic. Commanders and Cowboys. Hey, okay. Commanders and Cowboys, Bloom.
Yeah.
Let's discuss now without Ezekiel Elliott. But man, Rico Dowdle, nice surge there, right?
Yeah.
Nice season this year. So Cowboys need a running back. They're still going to add one. They got one at the top with Rico.
Yeah, on the Dallas side of things, Cooper Rush without CeeDee Lamb's not going to do much. Rico Dowdle, like you said, making that showing to see he's going to compete against running back. How good a running back next year? Deep Dynasty watch, Jalen Tolbert, Ryan Flournoy. That's an interesting side speed guy. Jonathan Mingo, remember him? Deep Dynasty watch there. Washington has a lot to play for in this game. Washington, if they win, will secure the number 6 seed, and that means they'll face the Rams or Tampa Bay instead of Philadelphia. So that's pretty big. Plus, why would you slow this? See, one of the things when we look at week 18, motivation and decisions that our coaches are making, why would you slow down a team that has this kind of momentum right now, that is feeling this? Why would you mess with that? So Jaden Daniels, one of the best stories, one of the happy stories, one of the truly happy stories in the NFL this year. And remember this about Jaden Daniels. When he went out for 9th grade football to play quarterback, they had to get a medical waiver for him to play because he was only 125 pounds. So what does that tell you about the spirit of Jaden Daniels? That it's a 125 pound kid playing high school football. He's like, yeah, I want to play. I'm like, geez, it's not safe for you to play. He's like, it's safe for me to play. I'm going to play. So captivating. 5 touchdowns in the last 30 seconds of a game. That's in your career. If you do that in your career, that's pretty impressive. He's done it in his rookie year. This is fun. This is really fun. Let's enjoy this. Let's savor this. To Terry McLaurin, to Olamide Zaccheaus. And before there was Malik Washington, who everybody was more aware of, Olamide Zaccheaus, he was Virginia also, right? Similar guy, similar kind of player, catches everything, really tough to handle after the catch. So Olamide Zaccheaus putting his name on our minds for week 18 fantasy football. Also, real interesting to watch Chris Rodriguez here. Maybe this is, somebody said this in my Twitter mentions, and I forget who it was. Was this Eric Bieniemy's parting gift to the NFL? Chris Rodriguez, who, Chris Rodriguez and Brian Robinson, this is for Dynasty. It's becoming an interesting conversation for Washington, as Rodriguez is showing his physical running ability. So, yeah, Washington, I'll say this. If the Commanders can't win in the playoffs, I still can't wait to watch the game. Still can't wait to see how it goes down because this team has the spirit of Jaden Daniels. So that means they've got a lot of spirit.
It's Bears Packers next up, Sigmund. And
Yeah.
honestly, this is a much larger conversation than just the game, because if you hire Brian Flores because Ryan Poles is trying to save his job, and Brian Flores goes in there and drops a few choice words for Caleb Williams,
Right.
you're going to ruin your franchise quarterback.
Right.
Sorry, that's the way it is. Now, the Ben Johnson thing, like Johnson wants more of the power. They need cohesion. It starts at the top with ownership. Notice how we're not even talking about the Packers, but like it starts at the top with ownership. But until you have that, you're going to have this scramble and you're going to ruin the chance you have with a young quarterback like Caleb Williams. Plenty of offseason talk about this, Bloom.
Yeah, and the thing that has hampered the Bears is not getting everybody alignment, not getting everybody on the same page. That probably starts with ownership, but now it's Ryan Poles sticking around. And like you said, now he may be making decisions with job preservation in mind instead of we're building something from the ground up. And like you said, there's also an interesting conversation about Caleb Williams in the offseason. Tough love or let's talk. What can I do to help you? And I don't know what the right answer is. I'm glad it's not necessarily my choice to make. So Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, who's going to be a free agent, Rome Odunze. Maybe the Bears summon something up as a parting gift for Thomas Brown. And for Green Bay, they need Washington to lose, and they need to win to avoid Philadelphia. So a successful season in a way for Green Bay. But Cease, don't you think this kind of embodies, yes, Jordan Love got paid? Still a lot of skepticism, maybe rightfully, about is Jordan Love the guy to get that team to the next level? We talk about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, even Jaden Daniels, even Jared Goff, right? Even Sam Darnold at this point. Jordan Love, we have skepticism about that. That's maybe why they're not included in that conversation. But in this game, probably see a lot of Josh Jacobs, maybe a lot of Emmanuel Wilson. We'll see how Matt LaFleur even approaches this game. If Washington is beating Dallas, which they should, there's nothing for them to gain. Christian Watson hurt. That changes a lot for this offense. It seems like without him, things really get compacted. So you got Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed. And I say all these names, and they're all young names. Everything's going to get better, right? Everything's going to get better. Well, the conversation this offseason is going to be, can it get better with Jordan Love, or is this as good as this team is going to be?
And the conversation has turned draft-wise, like, get the Packers the number one wide receiver. I got a bunch of wide receivers. They just got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Let them develop. Like, okay, whatever. We'll see. And put your faith in Gutekunst.
Yeah.
So there you go. Texans Titans. I'd rather talk about what Brian Gutekunst had for lunch than Texans Titans in Week 18. But here we are, Bloom.
Yeah. Yeah. The Texans offense looks like what you had for lunch after it comes back up right now. And that's a question for the Texans of, again, how much do you play your starters? D'Amico Ryans, do you play this game straight up, really, and challenge your team? They just lost 31-2. I don't care if you lost to the future Super Bowl champion. Ravens fans like, please. Still, losing 31-2 is not anything you ever want. So it's interesting. For fantasy football, you're not going to count on it. Maybe we'll see some more Dameon Pierce. Maybe we'll see some Deontay Johnson. What a season for Deontay Johnson. He ends up playing. Deontay Johnson starts this year as, wow, with Bryce Young, he could be the guy catching 100 balls to, well, the Texans might rest their starters, so we're going to see some Deontay Johnson, who was released, by the way. Who would have had that on their bingo card? Deontay Johnson released in the year 2024, 2025 now. So Houston's going to face the Chargers or Pittsburgh next week. On the Tennessee side, back to Tony Pollard. Jay Spears I got ahead of myself. I didn't realize he had left the game with a concussion late when we said, hey, he held up on 20 plus touches. Calvin Ridley, okay, that signing worked. Will Levis isn't the man. There's some fantasy value there. Chiggy Okonkwo, finally, hey, Mason Rudolph's giving us that. Rudolph, the red zone reindeer, not Kyle Rudolph. Rudolph, the red-nosed quarterback. I don't know. He led us through the night to Chiggy Okonkwo, who was a good player. you listen to the Audible, you knew that a long time ago. And the number 2 pick if they lose this one. So they could be in line for the quarterback. Lots of quarterback talk coming this offseason on the Audible.
Hotness, right? The hotness, and we'll have more to get to. Jaguars, Colts. Well, there's quarterback talk here, Bloom, but it's just okay. Anthony Richardson's had back spasms so bad he was crawling.
Yeah.
What the what? Like, it was always something with Richardson, who's always hurt. Like, okay, he's great until he gets hurt, and he's always hurt. And his upside and the physical stuff's so easy to see. We need to not necessarily stop talking about it, but just stop emphasizing it so much. So it's going to be Flacco in this one. But when I read that he had back spasms since middle school, and his back spasms were so bad last week that he had to crawl. It's a grown man with NFL medical staffs able to look at his body, and he's crawling. Are you kidding me? Sigmund, like,
Yeah.
so Jaguars, Colts, but again, lots of off-season stuff here.
Yeah, there is because, and on the Jag side, Brian Thomas Jr., let's not let that get overshadowed. Wow. And every time I talk about these guys, I'm just going to remind people, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, these guys are New Orleans guys. Brian Thomas Jr. is a Baton Rouge guy. Malik Neighbors, Lafayette. This is all Southeast Louisiana. CeeDee Lamb lived in New Orleans until Katrina. That's 5 of the top 7 receivers down here, baby. As we need your good. This is called the city that Care forgot a long time ago. So thanks for the good vibes, everybody. Thanks, by the way, a lot of people checking in on me and my family, and I feel the love. I feel the love when you all do that. So truly, thank you. Anyway, Mac Jones feels the love. He's kind of found a new part of his game this year, and playing with a little more confidence, playing with a little more aggression. Parker Washington trying to show he can replace Christian Kirk next year. Brenton Strange not replacing anybody, by the way, as he basically got benched after a fumble. When you see this Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby pick, they're picking number 5 right now. We'll see what happens here. The interesting thing, and of course, with Flacco out there, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, who's been playing through a rough back injury. Jonathan Taylor, showing that when he's not playing on a bum ankle, he's really, really good. But the main story here for the Colts is the cracks are showing. The cracks are showing because, like you said, Cease, Anthony Richardson, it sounds like is dealing with a debilitating condition. But Shane Steichen is saying soreness. What's going on here? What's going on when your coach says soreness and the player is not able to?
Your coach doesn't believe him.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's a problem. And Jim Irsay is not a problem solver. Chris Ballard might be a problem solver, So, yeah, Colts fans. And Anthony Richardson, I feel bad. I reflect on how there were those stories, the story about him, helping the stranded motorist in the offseason, and how he didn't even tell them he was the quarterback of the Colts. It was like they had to be like, oh my God, the quarterback of the Colts just helped me when my car broke down. It's like, is he too nice? Is that like too nice of a soul to really make it in the NFL? I don't know. I mean, I hate to speculate so wildly, but that was the kind of story that you didn't hear. You don't hear about NFL quarterbacks usually, you know? So I don't know. I want to see this turnaround, but something has to change on this organization if we're going to see Anthony Richardson even approach what he could become in the NFL.
Yeah. Bills and Patriots, our next game up, and Patriots side Drake may not play because of an undisclosed injury. But he's probably going to play. Who knows? This is just the reports we had. Full disclosure, recording Thursday morning.
Right.
So let's talk Bills, Patriots, and anything with Buffalo, Sigmund. I just say do it in the playoffs. And by the way, I'm going to be rooting for Denver. Unless Cincinnati just loses to Pittsburgh on Saturday. But everyone's going to be rooting for Denver because nobody wants to see Cincinnati in the postseason, who can beat anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. They could squeak into the playoffs and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Buffalo's going to rest everybody. Tyrell Shavers, Mitchell Trubisky. There's not even like some deep dynasty watch guys here. With New England, you're going to rest Drake May. He did get a limited practice in. And why are we talking about this? Because they get the number 1 pick if they lose. And preview, let's jump ahead to draft talk. I think this is pretty simple, Cease. You take Travis Hunter. You get the number 1 pick, you take Travis Hunter. You take Travis Hunter. I mean, you don't trade down. And I don't know that
Best player
teams
in the draft.
Yeah, and I don't know that teams are going to be hot enough on these quarterbacks to trade up to number 1 anyway. So don't do it, New England. If you get the number 1 pick, just take Travis Hunter. We'll see Antonio Gibson over Ramondre Stevenson, which is awkward because they gave Ramondre Stevenson an extension before the season that indicated you're our guy. Maybe you're not our guy. Kayshon Boutte, remember, he's only 22 years old. Kayshon Boutte, there's an LSU guy, LSU wide receiver U. And maybe we can see Jalen Polk's a little banged up. Maybe we can see some Javon Baker, maybe some Jaheim Bell, maybe guy that Anthony Richardson threw to back at Florida. So yeah, New England, can you say that you got the number 1 pick and the season was a success? I think for New England, you kind of can.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Giants Eagles up next, Bloom, and well, we know Saquon Barkley's not going to play, so somewhere Eric Dickerson is breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Which is fine. 2105 is a great number for me as a fan of Eric Dickerson from back in the day. But it's like, yeah, records are meant to be broken, and Barkley could have easily broken that. Now watch Derrick Henry have like 300 yards on Saturday. Break it anyway.
Yeah.
But Giants Eagles, this one's a little different because, well, we know Philadelphia is not going to play much anybody.
Right. So, we may see some Tyrion Davis Price. Remember him?
Johnny Wilson is
Johnny Wilson.
I'm interested in.
Yep, yes. Aeneas Smith, even Jahan Dotson on his redemption on the Philly side, but they're resting everybody. And we're going to see some Tanner McKee. There's Superflex deep dynasty, 2-quarterback dynasty. We'll see how he does. But Philly's going to rest everybody. And look, on the Barkley tip, don't tell me that 17 games, 16 games, whatever. This is not a running game era of the NFL, unlike the era when a lot of these big seasons happened. So what Saquon Barkley did, it's just as impressive. And really, we got to name Jeff Stoutland and this offensive line too. But what he did is just as impressive as what they did. And Barkley's the kind of dude I think that doesn't really care about the record. He wants a ring. I believe that. And I think it was Cato the Elder, Cease, that said, I'd rather have people ask why there is no statue of me than why there is one. So, yeah, come on. Let's give Saquon his love. And let's give Drew Lock his love for taking the Giants out of the number 1 pick. And look, this is how, the old parable about, my son broke his leg. That's bad. Oh, but then the draft, they were doing conscription and he didn't have to go to the war. Oh, that's good. But then, he was right. You never really know until later on what developments mean in a story. So was it good or bad that Drew Lock steered the Giants away from Shedeur Sanders? Or will they even steer away in the end? Maybe they're the team that trades up to number 1. Lots of intrigue setting up the offseason for you. Tyrone Tracy, not intrigue there. He's their number 1 running back 2 for fantasy. New England, Tennessee, Cleveland. These are the teams ahead of the Giants, and they have to lose for the Giants to move up. Yeah, good luck if that's your hope to get a higher pick. So Drew Lock, who would have thought that it's, they say like with the lever large enough, you can move the world. Drew Lock had that lever and changed the destiny of at least 2 franchises with that big game, maybe 3 when you had the Colts, and how just disgraceful that game was for the Colts. Yeah, NFL always keeping us guessing.
Always keeping us guessing. Saints, Buccaneers up next, and Sigmund, I'm not going to bloom them, but come on.
Yeah.
Any chance of beating Tampa? Any chance of beating Tampa? In Tampa, with the way that they're playing, the way that they're fired up, Bucky Irving has 1,400 all-purpose yards, and he's played 44% of their snaps. I mean, my God. Mike Evans is however many yards. Don't make me do math. How many yards from 1,000?
85.
Please just get him 1,000. Please. I love Mike Evans. Love him, love him, love him. But yeah, I mean, if the Saints somehow found a way, well, I'm not sure that's going to happen against this Buccaneers team, which, by the way, much like Cincinnati, they're a team that could win it all. Nobody wants to face Tampa Bay in the postseason.
Yeah. Yeah. New Orleans side, what is there to even talk? Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back, everybody.
Woo.
The Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson. A real good speech by Foster Moreau, by the way. Just look it up. A real good speech by Foster Moreau about just life. And remember, he's a cancer survivor. Listen to this, by the way. Not just Clyde Edwards-Helaire. These are going to be the main pieces of this offense, okay? Dante Pettis, Cedric Wilson Jr., Marquez Valdez. See, it's Christmas is over, but we are on the island of misfit toys in this offense. We have made it. I'm not just a misfit. And yeah, Baker winning in. What a great story. Bucky Irving, Mike Evans going for his 11th straight out of 11 seasons. Jalen McMillan also
Yeah.
wheels up
Wow.
for him. So yeah, Tampa, depending on what happens with the Rams, they could be the 3 seed, they could be the 4 seed. But like you said, this team is actually battle tested already. They played Detroit pretty close to straight up in the playoffs last year. So yeah, Tampa. I mean, look, you had set it up for week Cease, whether it was a Michael Penix led Atlanta team or a Baker Mayfield led NFC South team. Not the best football played in the NFL and the NFC South this year, but a very dangerous team in the playoffs. Whoever wins.
Exciting and intriguing. And then we have Broncos and Chiefs with Carson Wentz, who's Mr. Week 18. We have this race of quarterbacks, Sigmund, who are like,
Yeah,
I could be Sam Darnold. I could be Sam Darnold. I could be Sam Darnold. Without the
sure.
reputation of Sam Darnold behind the scenes, Sam Darnold's pretty good reputation behind the scenes. He's got his shot. We're going to talk about that game, most important game of the week. But
Right.
it's Chiefs Broncos. With the Broncos, win and you're in. Doesn't matter what Miami does. Doesn't matter what Cincinnati does. Win and you're in. But we've now been saying that for 3 weeks with the Broncos.
Yeah. Kansas City side, like you said, it's Wentz, Carson Steele. Oh, what could have been? You know, Kareem Hunt had some pretty significant fantasy value, and if Carson Steele just hadn't fumbled, it could have been Carson Steele. So I get to watch some Carson Steele this week. And again, Kansas City, do you lay down to keep Joe Burrow out of the playoffs? I don't think the Chiefs will do that.
No.
I think they're gonna. I think this game could get very interesting. I mean, we could even invoke Cease. I think for Denver, tie and you're in. Maybe that's going to come into play in this game. Sean Payton says, "I'm not above a tie if it gets us in the playoffs." And hey, it's been a successful season. It's a Bronco show. It's been a successful season for Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Okay, whether they win or lose in this game, they've exceeded expectations, and there's something in building now for the future. It includes Marvin Mims. Finally, Marvin Mims. Yes, he can tilt games in the Broncos' favor with that deep ball coming in to effect, and of course Cortland Sutton, and a backfield that we can't guess. And yeah, Cease, Broncos playoffs. It seemed kind of far fetched, and here we are, like you said, for the third week in a row, winning you're in.
Yeah, win and you're in. Chargers Raiders. It's okay. The Chargers side just rest everybody, get ready for the postseason because they are the type of team nobody wants to face in the postseason. But Chargers Raiders is like, okay, Vegas is nice, right?
Yeah. And I think the Chargers will play this straight up because if they win, they can. Well, I take that back because they have to also see what happens with the Steelers. So if the Steelers win, then they have to play this straight up. If the Steelers lose, I believe they can still get that. If the Steelers win, there's nothing for them to play for. If the Steelers lose and they win, then they will get that 5 seed and they will face Houston. So that's big. Let's watch Ladd McConkey's practice status. Quentin Johnston with Josh Palmer banged up should be a good play here. Justin Herbert, again, all pending if the Steelers lose. If the Steelers lose, then play your Chargers straight up. Including J.K. Dobbins. If the Steelers win, then this gets a little more murky. On the Raiders side, Aiden O'Connell can support the value of Brock Bowers breaking records. Jacoby Myers. Is it Alexander Madison time? This team has gone from maybe picking number 1 or number 2 down to number 8 with 2 wins. So yeah. But hey, you got some pride, and maybe even saving Antonio Pierce's job. Is that a good thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We shall see. That's for sure. Seahawks and Rams up next, and the NFC West, and Jimmy Garoppolo, ladies and gentlemen, for the Rams on that side. So let's talk about this one.
Yeah, nothing on the line here. Kinda nothing on the line. It depends again if Tampa wins. If Tampa loses, then the Rams can go ahead and get that pick. I think the Rams. I don't even know if Sean McVay cares though, because Sean McVay said we're going to rest everybody. So that just shows you where the Rams are at this point in the season. Big offensive questions for the Seahawks next year. Biggest one is Ryan Grubb going to come back? Probably he will. Zach Charbonnet Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe we'll see some more Kenny McIntosh here. Again, we'll see some Jimmy Garoppolo. From a fantasy football standpoint, what's interesting about the Rams side here is Sean McVay said he's excited for Blake Corum to get his chance to carry the load this week. So if you like Blake Corum and I know dynasty trade, let's do away. We're going to start a movement to do away with the trade deadline in dynasty leagues.
Yes.
I'm in one league. Congratulations to Rich Rebar, Lord Reeves, for winning the Roto World Dynasty League, by the way, the championship this year.
Nice.
No trade deadline's awesome, and it would be awesome if you could try to get in a buy low offer for Blake Corum right now as you're listening to this, if you want him, because after this game he may be untouchable in dynasty leagues depending on what he does. And we'll see some Jordan Whittington too. Remember, Cooper Kupp may not be with the team next year. Remember all those trade rumors? How many times, Cease, have we seen after they won the Super Bowl, the Rams die and then come back, and then die and then come back? So they're back in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they are back. That's for sure. And a couple of more games, then you can answer the door, Bloom.
Yeah.
Dolphins, Jets in this one. And again, it's like, what are we doing here with the Jets? And everything will change. And, well, maybe nothing will change because, well, it's the Jets, Bloom.
Yeah, and Miami again. If Denver loses and Miami wins, they're in with Tyler Huntley as the starter, bringing back Tyreek Hill's fantasy value. Jalen Waddle should be back. Devin Achane, we'll see the usage. Not much in the second half last week. Still got to play him straight up. Maybe the small running backs thing is catching up. Achane's been pretty healthy this year. So, and then Johnny Smith, of course, with the best year of his career, capping that off. It's been ugly, Cease, but I got to give a tip of the cap to the NFL writers. Because at the beginning of the year, if you would have said, yeah, the Jets are going to fail and Aaron Rodgers is going to probably slink out the back door at the end of his career, I would say, well, that doesn't sound that outlandish. But how he got there, it was entertaining, might not be the right word. It was compelling. It was a compelling story. And this is where you ended up. Is it Garrett Wilson's last game with the Jets? Tyler Conklin's hurting, by the way, after he had a big game. Is it Aaron Rodgers throwing his 500th touchdown pass to Devontae Adams? Confetti. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Jets sitting at the number 7 pick as we speak.
All right. Only one game to go before we get to the game.
And one game to rule them all.
Yeah. 49ers, Cardinals. Pay Brock Purdy next year, I guess. There seems to be a lot of confidence around that. So it's like, it's not his fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's the kicker's fault. It's everybody's fault. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah. San Francisco. It wasn't supposed to be this way. It wasn't supposed to end this way. And they've lost some games in excruciating fashion also. But yeah, Joshua Dobbs, there's a fantasy play for week 18 for you. Ricky Pearsall, there's a play. Juwan Jennings, Isaac Orlando, George Kittle and Deebo Samuel are banged up. So I think you just give them the veteran deference in this one, even though they probably still want to play. You see the Kyler Murray, Jonathan Gannon, high expectations leveled off. So next year is going to be a big year for both of those guys. Michael Carter's going to get the start. James Conner gave everything he had. Marvin Harrison Jr. trying to create some momentum going into next year. And Trey McBride. Cease, I know you love your Colorado, all the programs there, the Rammies, baby. But this is a pretty unlikely rise.
Get him a touchdown.
He get him a second touchdown.
Yep.
But let's just take a moment to appreciate that Trey McBride, he was kind of the number one tight end in the class by default. There wasn't that clear number one tight end. I don't even think the most optimistic take on Trey McBride would have him where he is, and the best is probably yet to come.
Small town Colorado, man.
Yeah.
Fort Morgan.
Yeah. Awesome.
Fort Morgan, Colorado. Embraced by that community. It's fantastic. Let's talk Vikings and Lions. This is it. Let's stretch it out. We've waited 35 minutes to get to this point, but it's Vikings Lions. We don't ever see this type of significance in the final week of the regular season.
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome. And it's for the number 1 seed in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let us down. We're not doing a recap show, by the way.
Yeah.
We preview these games. We're not doing a recap show because I'm going to have popcorn and I'm going to be watching this game.
Yeah. It's been kind of a weird year. Pete Rozelle rolling over in his grave as we have anything but parity this year. This has been the least season the 20 years we've been doing this, or 19 years, whatever, a lot of years. This is by far the most haves and have-nots NFL season. that we could get into lots of offseason topic of why, but this is a real finale. This is a real finale rack. Down here in New Orleans and Jefferson Parish, you can get fireworks on the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. We lit some fireworks off yesterday. This is your finale rack of the season. So it's all for something, the lack of parity, because you have Boardwalk and Park Place here battling it out in the NFC. And what's exciting about this, and I guess we can do this, we can take each side, Cease. Like you said, let's savor this a little bit, is, really could decide who wins the Super Bowl. Certainly decides where the road to the Super Bowl goes through a dome stadium in a cold locale. But let's start with Sam Darnold, because if you haven't seen it, you need to watch the clip of how the Vikings locker room greeted Sam Darnold.
And Kevin O'Connell standing there.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell's like us, the old man watching all the young people party. Like, yeah. I remember that.
And watch it, folks. I mean, they literally lifted him up on their shoulders. And it was a beautiful moment, because you saw for a second there, Sam Darnold's like, I don't even know what to do. He said it was like Ricky Bobby. He's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. He invoked Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. Which tells you how unlikely the story is that he would be lifted up by his teammates and celebrated. And he's not going anywhere. Come on, let's not overthink this. We talked about this at various points in the season. There were some points when we saw old Jets, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, making some questionable decisions with the ball. J.J. McCarthy could end up being that guy, and that's fine. You don't mess with this. Mess with this.
Nope.
I mean, the team loves. And again, one of the things that's beautiful to watch with this team, Kevin O'Connell, he's one of the nice guy coaches. He's one of the love coaches. Both of these coaches are love coaches. Both of these coaches run their team with an ethos of love. And maybe it isn't as obvious as it is with Dan Campbell, but I think both of these coaches embraced maybe the most important role of a head coach, Cease, spiritual leader. X's and O's and all that stuff. You got a lot of other coaches for that. The head coach is the spiritual leader, whether he wants to be or not. And let's also mention Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who, Andrew Berry, I think, also deserves some credit here. That 1 year in the Cleveland organization, he went straight from analytics, straight from like Wall Street to analytics. 1 year learning the operations side with Cleveland, and here we are. And the other thing I think that the Vikings success stands for is collaboration. There's no head of this organization. There's no one person that the buck stops at. It's true collaboration. And you even saw it when Kwesi was hired, that he kept a lot of the scouts from the previous regime. Collaboration. Aaron Jones was a little banged up. You love seeing this for him, by the way. You love seeing this for Aaron Jones. That, he just has a chance to win a ring. UTEP two-step, baby. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Redemption for Jordan Addison, who had a rough offseason. Remember, with that arrest, a lot of disappointment. So on the field, at least redeeming himself. TJ Hawkinson back, and Jalen Naylor making a splash. A lot of weapons, the arsenals on display. But Detroit is known as the Auto City, the Motor City. But this is an air show, not just Jahmyr Gibbs, an air show for Jared Goff, who in a lot of seasons would be considered an MVP candidate.
Yes.
But Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are only playing like God level football. So mere NFL MVP level football is not enough this year.
Yeah, Joe Burrow playing at God level there as well. And you said feel good for Aaron Jones. I feel good personally for guys like Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On that side, like, you have a chance, and it's right there in front of you. Who's going to seize it? And through all the lack of parity and really just some bad football. We had bad football for the month of September. We had bad football for half of December. Through all of that, to have these collection of teams, Tampa Bay, the Rams could win it all, right? Just to have this collection of teams of like, if they catch fire,
right,
look out. So with the Lions and the Bills specifically, it's there for you. Are you going to grab the brass ring? Detroit, you're up.
Yeah. And that's my wish for this new year. And it's more of a trivial wish. I have more substantial wishes. If we get a Detroit Buffalo Super Bowl, first of all, those people get to come down here to New Orleans and enjoy the warmth of many things in New Orleans, including the weather. And I think to see they'll just be walking around pinching themselves because they'll know like one of those two fan bases will be walking around New Orleans that week knowing that at the end of this week, we will have the ultimate victory that we have been longing for so long. Dan Campbell, let's talk about him for a second. Because there's been multiple times this season when there were so strong feelings on both sides of a Dan Campbell decision. Both sides are people emphatic. Like, how could he do that? He's a clown. And he's brilliant. And it's the same decision. He's a transformative figure. He's a transformative figure in the NFL. The NFL is going to be different for Dan Campbell having been a head coach. And not every choice he makes ends up being right. But why is he transformative? The spiritual leader part of it. And he embraces it. Listen to his speeches. He has been telling this team, he has been filling this team's head with ideas for years. And the ideas that he's been filling them with that seemed fanciful are happening. What does that make? Belief. With belief, you can get anywhere in this life. Mm-hmm. With true belief. And that's the backbone of his program, not biting kneecaps. Okay. Not taking crazy risks. And let's get to the crazy risks. Why does he take crazy risks? Because he believes in his players. Mm-hmm. Throw the analytics out. He's not an analytics guy either. I believe my guys are going to execute in the moment of truth. Period. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to know the odds. Don't tell me the odds, right? Han Solo. And yeah, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta. Khalif Raymond's going to be back for this one probably, at least for the playoffs. Jahmyr Gibbs, who, by the way, the first game, a 31-29 Detroit, Minnesota game, that was a Jahmyr Gibbs game. Maybe this will also be a Jahmyr Gibbs game. And, what a season. Whatever the story is, like you said, Cease, we're going to have 7 teams on each side with incredible, compelling stories, except maybe if Miami makes the playoffs. Sorry, Dolphins fans. They didn't even have a Pro Bowl player, okay? 14 compelling, amazing stories. Well, maybe Green Bay. They're fading a little bit. 12, 13. Then no matter who ends up at the top of the heap, it will be meaningful. It will mean something. And always what means something, again, if you're still here now, listening to us, you love football and you love the audible, which I'm verklempt when I think about that. Happy New Year, everybody. As always, we're going to be here with you, for you, because we love you and because you're so classy, but I can't sign off. But they are so classy, Cease.
They are. We got 2 sign-offs on this show because we want you to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we'll be here with you with more preview, more news show. We're getting off-season mode, but got to get to the playoffs first. He's Sig, I'm Cease. We are the Audible. Everyone, enjoy your football. One game. Stay tuned and stay frosty.